From the moment we are born, we begin a journey whose beginning and end we never truly understand. We come into existence without knowing how or why, and one day we live it, sadly realizing we didn't find the answer. Our lives, on one hand, seem full of events that brought us various feelings joy, sadness, despair, but on the other hand, they seem empty. That emptiness has always haunted humanity. We can describe what life is, but we can't explain why it is. And if we don't know how we came to be or where we are heading, how can we say with certainty that anything we do actually matters? No answer has ever been universally accepted. Some turn to religion, believing in a divine creator who gives the universe and every individual a purposeful design. Others find their meaning in relationships, in the love and human connection that shape our days. And then there are those who look at all these attempts, the beliefs, the theories, the longing for significance, and see only a void. For them, life is not steered by cosmic intention or rational order. It merely exists. This is the stance of the nihilist. Although nihilism has many variations and interpretations, no thinker has shaped our contemporary understanding of it more deeply than Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche not only diagnosed the modern crisis of meaning, but also proposed a bold and controversial path for overcoming it. For many people, nihilism is less a theory and more an emotional condition. It can manifest subtly, like waking up and immediately reaching for a phone, not because there is something important to check, but because distraction keeps deeper emptiness at bay. Or it can appear dramatically, through existential dread, anxiety about the future, or the sense that all goals eventually fade. Jean-Paul Sartre famously described this condition as abandonment. According to Sartre, humans are condemned to be free, meaning that once we realize there is no predetermined meaning, we are left alone to construct our own. While Sartre wrote decades after Nietzsche, the emotional tone he captures resonates strongly today, a mix of freedom, anxiety, and responsibility. This cultural mood is not isolated. It stems from broad historical transformations. Religious institutions hold less authority than they once did. Politics inspires more cynicism than hope. Science explains the world in ways that leave little room for metaphysical comfort. Traditional gender roles, moral expectations, and community structures have loosened or collapsed entirely. As a result, people often feel unanchored, free, yet directionless, informed, yet unsure how to live. These cultural shifts create fertile ground for Nietzsche's critique of modern morality and his diagnosis of a deeper spiritual crisis at the heart of Western civilization. When Nietzsche declared God is dead in the Gay Science, he was not making a religious claim, but a cultural observation. He believed that modernity had eroded the foundations of traditional value systems, particularly those rooted in Christianity. People continued to act as if old values still held power, but their deeper belief in those values had weakened. This disconnect between inherited ideals and lived conviction creates what Nietzsche calls a spiritual vacuum. Nietzsche traces this collapse in On the Genealogy of Morality, where he argues that Western morality depends on assumptions that no longer persuade us. Rationality, historical criticism, and scientific thinking gradually undermine the same metaphysical beliefs they originally relied upon. In Nietzsche's view, this leads to a situation in which society no longer knows what it believes. In the wake of this collapse, Nietzsche distinguishes between two responses. Number one, passive nihilism. This form manifests as a resignation, apathy, or escapism. The passive nihilist sees no meaning in life but lacks the strength or creativity to build new values. They retreat into comfort, entertainment, or numbness. Number two, active nihilism. The active nihilist recognizes the collapse of old values but sees it as an opportunity for transformation. They reject outdated moral frameworks deliberately in order to make space for something new. Nietzsche believed that Active nihilism was a necessary transitional stage, painful, yes, but ultimately productive. It clears away the ruins so that new valleys might emerge. Nietzsche's solution to nihilism is neither a return to past beliefs nor a surrender to hopelessness. Instead, he proposes something far more radical. Meaning must be created rather than discovered. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, he introduces the figure of Übermensch. The figure is not a superhero nor an elite ruler, but a creator of values, someone who shapes their own moral framework based on strength, clarity, and self-understanding. The Übermensch represents the highest form of human development, a person who does not rely on inherited norms, but instead carves meaning consciously from life's challenges. To test whether one truly affirms life, Nietzsche offers the thought experiment of eternal recurrence. Imagine reliving your life exactly as it is, every joy, every mistake, every mundane detail, again and again, infinitely. Would this idea horrify you? Or could you embrace it? This thought experiment is not meant to be believed literally. Instead, it functions as an existential test. Do your choices reflect your authentic values? Or are you drifting through habits and expectations imposed by others? For Nietzsche, a person who could affirm eternal recurrence embodies the highest form of strength, a complete, unapologetic embrace of existence. While Nietzsche remains central, other philosophers have an interesting stance on nihilism too. In The Myth of Sisyphus, French philosopher Albert Camus argues that life is inherently meaningless, but instead of despair, this realization should lead to defiance. Camus' Sisyphus pushes his boulder up the hill endlessly, fully aware of the futility, but he rebels against the absurd with persistence and dignity. Whereas Nietzsche emphasizes the creation of new values, Camus emphasizes the courageous confrontation of meaninglessness itself. For Camus, our task is not to transcend the absurd, but to live within it bravely. German philosopher Martin Heidegger argues that Nietzsche attempted to overcome nihilism, but remained trapped in the metaphysical tradition he sought to critique. However, Heidegger agrees strongly with Nietzsche's central claim. Modern humanity is estranged from deeper forms of meaning because we have lost our sense of being itself. We are distracted, busy, and uprooted from the fundamental question of what it means to exist. One reason Nietzsche resonates so widely is that his ideas map directly onto the deepest anxieties of modern life. Today's world offers freedom, but often provides little guidance. Social media pushes us toward comparison rather than fulfillment. Economic and cultural pressures make it difficult to know what we genuinely want. Traditions that once offered stability now appear outdated or oppressive. In this context, Nietzsche's philosophy feels almost prophetic. His call for self-creation speaks to anyone who feels overwhelmed by external expectations. His emphasis on personal responsibility resonates with those who are tired of drifting through life. His challenge to embrace life fully appeals to individuals seeking authenticity in a world full of artificiality. Moreover, Nietzsche's ideas help explain everyday struggles. Choosing a career path when none seem meaningful, navigating relationships without fixed roles, building personal values in a morally diverse society, pushing back against apathy and cynicism. In a culture saturated with the nihilistic humor, ironic detachment, and existential exhaustion, Nietzsche's philosophy offers not comfort, but clarity and direction. Despite this power, Nietzsche's solution is not without problems. Critics argue that the Übermensch can seem elitist or unrealistic, an ideal unattainable for ordinary people with ordinary responsibilities. Others claim that if everyone creates their own values, society risks fragmenting into moral chaos. Communal norms, after all, play an important role in social stability. Additionally, Nietzsche's ideas have been historically misinterpreted or misused, sometimes disastrously. though such appropriations distort his actual philosophy. Nietzsche did not advocate brute domination or racial superiority. His focus was always on individual flourishing and freedom. Still, these concerns highlight a deeper tension. How can individuals create meaning while living in communities? How do we balance autonomy with the need for shared frameworks? These questions remain open, and any attempt to live beyond nihilism must grapple with them. Nihilism may be an unavoidable part of modern life, but it does not have to be a dead end. Through self-creation, intentional living, and courageous affirmation of existence, Nietzsche invites us to transform meaninglessness into meaning. In a world full of uncertainty, his philosophy remains a powerful guide, not for returning to old certainties, but for forging new paths with strength, creativity, and authenticity.